the way we started, first 5 years of marriage, I was the breadwinner. You were in school, right, and taking care of the kids.
Don't forget that.
That could have easily. How can I? That could have easily become toxic if I was a person that, felt like I needed to make all the decisions because I'm making all the money, or I'm, some people just old fashioned. I'm the man. Some women, they use, their sexual, they use sex to dominate in the relationship. They're spoiled. They use that and hold that over the man's head. Some guys might like that though. But
some guys might like what?
Let's keep it moving. We PG.
Okay, all right.
You caught it. If you didn't, just go ahead.
It went over my head. I ain't catch it.
It's okay. It's okay. Welcome. This is Relationships 101. I'm your host, Sylvester Wilson.
And I'm your co-host, Jasmika Wilson.
Yes, baby. Yes. So, we always come at y'all with a topic.
Always.
All right? Listen, have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
Drop it in the comments. If you was live, I would have been the first one to put in there. Hands up. Both hands.
Me.
Not enough hands.
Hands up.
I've been somebody that was toxic. I showed toxic behaviors, and I've been the victim to toxic behaviors. But I've been in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important that we heal from that by talking about it, by being transparent, and by focusing on some things that might help. But first, we got to be able to identify what they are.
Would you go back to a toxic? Just act like we ain't married right now. Just right now, 5 seconds. Would you ever go back into a toxic relationship?
No, that's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
Some people, unfortunately, they go back to what they know, what they used to. Yeah. Some people miss abuse, or unfortunately, people do stay in it and go back to what they're used to.
It could definitely become a comfort zone for a lot of people. And a lot of people think that, you might think that a comfort zone is something that you just feel comfortable. Nah, it's just something that you know. It's familiar to you. So you go back to what you're familiar with. And unfortunately, where we come from, there's a lot of toxic activity.
Listen, this recording this episode at this time couldn't be no more fitting. I don't know if y'all hear the police sirens out there. I don't know if y'all hear it, but it is loud. If y'all heard it, that's what a toxic relationship look like. Police sirens just running.
That's the thing.
People running. Like, that's the perfect sound for today's topic. So, let's get into it. I ain't never going back. I don't want to go back. I am delivered. I pray I never display those behaviors in our relationship. In the beginning, I did. I'm a silent treatment you. I don't want to talk to you.
What are the behaviors, though? What's the ingredients to a toxic relationship?
Just name some.
Yeah.
You got manipulation, lying, cheating, physical abuse, substance abuse, jealousy, envy, just
insecurity,
control.
You said abuse?
Yeah, I said abuse.
Okay.
These are behaviors that make the relationship toxic. Yeah. Because relationships don't just get written off as toxic.
Right. And a lot of them don't start that way either. So at some point, I know, and that's one of the things that I think keeps a lot of people in toxic relationships, is because it didn't start that way.
And then,
right. So then you still got hope that it'll return back how it was, because it wasn't always like this. But you got to remember yourself, right? You got to love yourself. more than you hope for things to return back.
It sounds like you can't ever get comfortable in a relationship.
What do you mean by that?
Just you're saying when it started that way, they wasn't showing the signs. Then it eventually came or whatever after you grew to love them. I think you stay in it when you're comfortable. Like, this is what it is. I guess content with the behaviors is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah. Instead of striving for better, looking for improvements, working on ourselves, and that goes for both people. I read something that also said that toxic relationships, they stem from imbalance inside of a relationship, imbalance with the power structure. Meaning that one person more so controlling the decisions that's made in it, and it goes their way. So you got one person that's used to getting their way, and the other person that's used to going out of their way to please the other person and make sure that they get their way. That's toxic. You're actually enabling that other person when you're the one that's pleasing, the pleaser, going out of your way to make sure, because you might just be a peacemaker. You just want things to stay peaceful, so let me just go ahead with it. But
that's toxic.
You're enabling that person to be toxic. You're being toxic by even doing that.
So people got to be intentional on staying in toxic relationships. Like, what role am I serving?
Definitely. Let's look at ourselves and see what role am I playing in it.
But what if a person never see what they're doing is toxic? Like, because there are some mental issues that are going unaddressed in our community, and they just feel like, I'm made this way, I can't change it, or I can't control it, and they don't think that it's toxic.
I mean, that's the work, though. That's the work.
No, it requires that other individual calling it out for what it is. Just going back to what you said about how people just enable it and be quiet about it. You're not helping that relationship, or you're not helping your partner by sitting out and being quiet about stuff that's bothering you, or that has a problem
all the time. Yeah. Sometimes there has to be a conflict, right? Some people think conflict is bad. It's always a bad, it's a negative thing all the time. It's not always a negative thing. I had to learn myself personally to address conflict, to be conflictual, to run towards the conflict, because otherwise you'll never resolve whatever it is, right? If you continue to run away from the conflict, so you can make it worse.
So a toxic relationship is created by a toxic person or toxic individuals,
right,
that's making this relationship that thing.
Imbalance. It's not balanced. Here we go back to balance again. So what am I doing, right? Am I allowing too much power to one side? All right, so the way we started, first 5 years of marriage, I was the breadwinner, you were in school, right, and taking care of the kids.
Don't forget that.
That could have easily, that could have easily become toxic if I was a person that, felt like I needed to make all the decisions because I'm making all the money. Or I'm, some people just old fashioned. I'm the man. Some women, they use, their they use sex to dominate in the relationship. They're spoiled. They use that and hold that over the man's head. Some guys might like that though.
Some guys might like what?
Let's keep it moving. We PG.
Okay, all right.
You caught it. If you didn't, just go ahead.
It went over my head. I ain't catch it.
It's okay.
Okay, but you could have allowed you being a breadwinner to dominate and control me.
That could have become toxic. Because then the power structure would have been off.
So can you say that you were healed in those times? Like, what helped you from refraining yourself to use, I'm the breadwinner, I'm macho man, to make our relationship turn out that way?
My mindset was, I thought about you. I thought about the other person. I was mindful about it. It wasn't something that was just automatic. because there was instances where, you know, I had to actually be thoughtful about that and think, like, stop myself, like, hold on now, the way that you address this. When you talk about the money, right? It ain't my money, it ain't my check, I was conscious enough to know that not to address things as my. Knowing that you ain't bringing in no money, it's like, why would I do that? And then have her feeling like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want to remind you of that in no type of way. And I was mindful about that. So
selfishness is a toxic behavior in a relationship. That's what I heard you.
And it could, and also that could come from insecurity. If I was an insecure man, right, feeling like, you know, it makes me feel good.
An ego booster.
Ego, right? To be able to say what I do and da 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 da. It's like, then I would have been that way. But, you know, with the absence of insecurity, you know, it was good. It was good.
I can't imagine being in a relationship where selfishness resides. And the only reason I say that is because marriage is a selfless act. Like, you cannot be in this relationship and be selfish.
Right.
Like,
it won't survive. And that's the dynamics of the whole structure of marriage is selflessness.
And even competition, just going back to our story, I'm thinking about where we could have got a little toxic in there. Competition. I could have been like, okay, you make this money and I'm home and I'm in school, but when I graduate, I'm make all the money and you gonna be just competing with your spouse.
But like, it would have had to start from me, though.
Yeah.
Men. Women, too. I mean, because sometimes as a woman, you could be the starter, right? The beginning of something, right? You're the beginning when you have the children, right? You're the beginning. A lot of times when mommy say she don't like to eat something, a lot of times children, like little babies, like when they little like that, they go along with that. Oh, mommy said it's nasty, then that's nasty. I don't even want to try that. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times women are in a position to be the beginners of something too, and we got to make sure that we're responsible with that position. So as a man, in the position I was in, as the beginner, right, or the pioneer of the family in regards to finances, like, it was on the tone that I set for it. I didn't set a selfish or a competitive tone, so then you ain't have that to give back to me because I didn't put that in you. I didn't give you that. You know what I'm saying?
So you feel like one behavior creates another behavior in the relationship.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect.
Definitely. So, I also think that maybe how long?
People saying toxic relationships forever. Let's just be honest. If we could have seen marriages dating back from our grandparents and all that trauma and all that abuse, I strongly believe those relationships was toxic. Even though people be like, oh, we need to get back to how our grandparents were dating. Grandparents ain't have social media. They ain't have much access to therapy, much access to money. So to be honest, our relationship should be more healthier than what our great-grandparents had because we got resources. We can go to therapy to work on these issues. We can invest whatever we need to do personally to become a better person. But I think people stay in that for a long time and they grow bitter and old and die and be sick.
I mean, it was a lot of difference too. Back then, like you said, the power structure was kind of already given to them back in our grandparents' days and things like that. It was the man's world.
They thought it was a man's world.
And no, it was. Men were given them all the opportunities to actually make the money. Like women didn't have the opportunity. Men had
advantage, but women were home baking other cookies too. Like, there's some traumas and some stories. Yeah, it's some hidden stuff.
Definitely.
But yeah, that was the image.
So what I'm saying is that society had already kind of like structured it, gave that household, each household, like the power structure. The man is going to, he makes all of the decisions because he makes all of the money, right? since we give him all of the opportunities to make the money, then he's the one that, and he brings all the money home, then he is the one that, and that's where the old fashioned mindset comes from, to where, oh, my house, my rules, yada yada yada, and then women would just, you know, not even
servants.
Yeah, subservient to them, and they wouldn't even go and get an education and empower themselves in the ways that they could, because they didn't feel like it was nothing out there for them.
So do you feel society make our relationships toxic too? Because now we're in a time where they changed that.
It could.
And it's more focused on women get the bag and women lead and girls power.
Yeah. And now women are more like, I know y'all don't want to hear this, but a lot of women are...
Let me see if I agree.
The toxic ones in relationships nowadays. Yeah. Definitely.
Nah, babe.
In the same way that those men were.
Nah,
back
you
then,
can't.
A lot of women have been given the same power, right? I ain't saying across the board now, because all men wasn't like that.
Okay.
But it's like, you can't speak on the thing unless you've been put in that position, right? So it's like, oh no, men shouldn't. But now a lot of women are in men positions now in regards to being breadwinners and making and getting the opportunities, right? Then now a lot of them have become just like those men were.
Some.
A lot of them. Okay? And then they wonder why they can't find a man.
Some.
A lot of them.
I disagree.
Well.
I disagree.
Well, you're still beautiful.
I don't agree that a lot of women are toxic in a relationship, or the ones that's coming in toxic. Because you got some men in there that sit there and act innocent, but he be having a whole nother agenda. And this ain't no women versus men.
Right.
It's just individuals. I don't think a lot of women are out there doing it. I communicate with to me, more women than you. And I don't hear my circle being on, oh, he got... There's a certain income that has to be made, but that's not toxic.
Come on,
that's standards.
Holy
they just have their no. They have their standards on what they want from that relationship, because they know what they're coming with.
Nothing wrong with that.
But they're not trying to control or dominate a man because they make more. They're just coming in with standards. And I don't think that's toxic behavior. Standards and boundaries don't make me toxic.
Okay, so how about that those standards may not be any different from that man saying, I bring home the money, I need you in the kitchen, I need 3 meals a day, on some Harpo type of junk, color purple.
Oh, telling them don't work.
Telling them don't work, telling them what he want and how he want his house and all that, like giving demands. I don't think it's no different from these women nowadays, because they got leverage that they giving demands, and it depends on, again, and I understand that it's depending on the type of man that you're dealing with. Now, if you're dealing with a man who may not be at the level that you're on as a woman, financially, so that's really what I'm pointing at, the financial difference.
They ain't on your level.
So then they find themselves like speaking down on that man who may not be able to reach.
Well, they should know that from the beginning. That's why they need to intentionally date and stop dating on hope. I'm not hoping you got a whole record behind you and I'm hoping that in the next year you're gonna make $1 million. As many doors ain't gonna be open to that individual. So going in from the beginning, if you're intentionally dating, you 70% know the possibilities of how far this man can go. You know if he can talk professionally. You know if he can meet with this banker and handle it well. Like, I think you would know. If you're looking for that. If you're intentional about that. If you're intentional about that. So maybe we need to say that people need to be intentional in the dating phase so that they don't get in these committed relationships and then become this toxic person. Because if you was intentional in the beginning and not just he give me butterflies, I would have knew you only make $30,000 a year and that's probably the highest you can go. I would have knew it if I was intentional of learning your capability.
Okay, I agree. But two things. I think he, probably giving her a little bit more than butterflies. That's one thing. And the second thing is that nah, check it out.
PG-13,
because I heard you say
I'm trying to keep it there, but baby,
this ain't for kids.
You talking about boy that he give me butterflies?
Yeah, we know the power.
Great,
we know the power.
Don't be in bondage.
Let me get my second thing though.
Sorry,
second thing, something that you said. And I know you just gave an example. He might have a record and may not have access to as many opportunities and things like that. However, we do know that still is it's not a limit. That's not an excuse though for men, because there's plenty powerful and influential and successful men with a past, you know what I'm saying, who have catapulted, used their time wisely, learned what they need to learn, honed in on something and attacked it But
that's on drive and motivation. Some people with a past just...
But I don't think it got nothing to do with your past. I think it has to do something with, like you said, your drive and your motivation.
But I'm saying some people with a record, just be honest, babe. Everybody don't have the ability to be a CEO or... It's just...
No, everybody don't. But it's people that ain't got a record and it's still the same. Everybody without a record doesn't have the capacity to be a CEO or
right, but you don't know that while you're dating. I'm just trying to support my argument of if you're intentional about that dating phase, you can 70% gauge
definitely
where this could go.
Oh yeah,
because when I dated you, I was like, yeah, this good potential. Sorry. You want my meal ticket out, but
right, but it was potential.
I was thinking of how to make my own plate, but I was like, yeah, this smart guy, intelligent, something to work with, speak well, manage his emotions well. So I was like, all right, this could do something. It could go somewhere. So just be intentional, y'all. Don't be out here with the butterflies and the big 6, whatever inches y'all on. I don't know what's your desire.
Right.
Don't be lost in that.
Don't get lost.
Don't get lost in that.
Don't get lost. And I mean that's one of the reasons why I think we always find ourselves on the dating phase, because that's where that work, that preventative work happens at. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have prevented some stuff in that stage. Once it's on, it's on. Once the kids done came into it, you know what I'm saying? You done said I do, all of that. Like, the dating phase is very, 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 very important.
Saying I do ain't gonna wash away the behaviors.
It's not.
People be thinking, okay, we just gotta get married and then he'll stop. Or I gotta get married and she'll stop.
Right.
Get to the root of those issues, because it's not, marriage ain't stopping nothing. It may slow it down, but it's not stopping it.
Right.
Gotta get to the root of the issues, whatever it may be.
If you're gonna put demands on somebody for a relationship, man or woman, man, do it in the dating phase. That's where you put your demands. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't wait until y'all 50 years in and then be talking about he just won't, she just don't. It's like, man, put that pressure on them in the dating phase, and let's see if they can perform. If they can't, and it's just a behavior, they just on good behavior for that 30 days, 60 day, like couple of, take your time and see where that good behavior runs out at, the real them.
Now, we're not saying toss out people just because they show you 2 negative behaviors.
No.
Nobody's perfect. As we sit here, we got some behaviors that we have to manage and control. Cause I just be honest, your girl here sometimes, my mouth try to talk ahead of me, ahead of my thoughts. That's toxic. But that's something that I have to work on every day intentionally if I want to make this relationship work. So don't toss it out because it's there. that person got to be willing to work on it though. Because I'm not going to stay with you all my life and you think you could just talk reckless. Right. And that's what you had to tell me in the beginning. You was like, babe, that mouth, I don't know where you got it from. I think I know, but you got to work on that. Like, you not going to be going off and then think tonight you could say, I'm sorry. You got to learn how to communicate. So, you thank God you ain't leave me?
I thank God I waited.
Well, we both could say I thank God I waited. Because everybody got some behaviors that's not healthy. We're born, I think, innocently. But we're born blank. So whatever we learn from our parents, our peers, that time of growing up, that's what we show. So to be honest, in the black community, come on now, all of us was kind of brought up by the same people. Yeah. You fuss, you yell, you fight, you handle your business. That's just what we were brought into. We wasn't brought into, now Johnny, the time isn't right. Give me 10 minutes and I'll explain to you why I said no. No was no. No explanation. You can't do that in a relationship. Gotta kind of explain. Right. Not right now, babe. I'm just tired. Just tired.
There's a level of aggression that comes from our community, and we know the history and everything. But there's a level. We got a lot of healing to do as people. There's a level of aggression inside of our community that comes from our community that is not healthy. Right. It's not somewhere that you could take in every arena, in every room with you.
Cause sometimes that dog be needed, babe, don't it? Oh. You be needing it sometimes.
Sometimes I be needing that dog.
You be needing that dog, cause sometimes he be like, babe, the plate kind of look wrong, like, and then that dog and me be like, ma'am, he ordered steak. I don't do it, rude, but sometimes it's needed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's needed.
Sometimes I gotta go ahead and pull that leash. Tug that leash a little bit, like, hey, babe, you ain't have to talk to that lady like that now. Come on now, you had to talk to her.
The Lord will continue to work on me. He will continue to work on me.
Yeah, definitely.
But they just got to be open to change, and I think the relationship work. So and they got to first acknowledge, acknowledge.
Are we getting into some solutions right now?
We are.
Are we getting into solutions?
We are.
Okay, solution time.
I just feel like they first got to acknowledge that I got a problem.
The person,
the individual. If they don't acknowledge they got a problem, you trying to tell them they got a problem ain't gonna do nothing.
So how does the person even know that they're in a toxic relationship?
How you feel right now? Let's just go through it. How do you feel right now? Angry, upset, suicidal, wondering,
depressed.
What day the Lord gonna call me home?
Anxiety, depression.
I could get in this car right now and just drive away and never return. Yeah. That's toxic. Unhappy. Tired. Sleepy. Yeah. Self-medicating. Where the next party at? Where the alcohol at?
So you got to be honest with yourself too. I think that, asking yourself certain questions.
I got one more, babe. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
You see happiness in another relationship and you envious. Like, it's bothering you that this couple is happy. You in a toxic relationship. Because when you in a healthy one, we be like, let's go. Like, they in Jamaica, we be rooting. Like, you are rooting. You're liking. You're supporting. You like, girl, where you went? Where y'all at? No. Shoot me the itinerary. You are genuinely happy when you see other people happy. If you're in a place where you don't see it, or you ain't happy for somebody,
that's not how you responded.
You in one, a toxic relationship that is.
Now I think you got to ask yourself some key questions though. What role am I playing in this toxic relationship? Also, have I done everything? Right? Have we done everything that we could do to rectify it, to turn it into a different, direction? What else do you think?
I like that you said that though, because some people just feel like they're the victim, and they don't take a step back and be like, this man ain't talking to me because I'm just giving random stories. This man ain't talking to me because every time I do talk to him, I'm talking about what trip so-and-so them took. Just making him feel inferior.
Right. So
he stonewalling you, pretty much avoiding you because he don't want to connect with you on that level.
Right.
You're toxic and you feel like you're dating a toxic person, but you're actually creating a toxic person. And they're avoiding you. Wow.
Is it toxic conversation then, right? Because if you're toxic, even if it's comparisons, feeling like you just don't add up yourself, comparing yourself to other situations, that means that the conversation that you end up having with the person you with, it's gonna end up being toxic. You know what I'm saying? And how is that actually affecting that person?
So if 90% of your conversations are toxic, there's a high possibility that you are toxic. That is your commercials from Relationships 101 podcast. Be sure to like, support, subscribe. Sorry, I just thought that was the perfect time to throw it in there.
Hey.
That was a good commercial. You should hire me.
Hired. So, but yeah, what can we do, right, to turn this thing around? I think that you just got to look at yourself first, because a lot of times we're enabling. If we're not creating it, we're enabling some toxic behavior from the other person. You bending your back and breaking your back to please this person when the last time they did that for you. There's an imbalance, right, in the power structure. You allowing this person too much freaking power in this relationship. What about you? Or if you're the one, right, do it always have to be about you? Do it always have to go your way? Or you finna lash out? Or you finna withhold sex? Or you're finna, you know what I'm saying? That's toxic. You're the one then, right? Or maybe both of y'all doing toxic stuff. Maybe you going tit for tat. Y'all gotta find some way to stop that, because there's an imbalance. It's all about the getting it balanced. Not always my way, right? Not always your way, but what's best for us. That might take a little bit from me. I might not be able to get everything I wanted. I have to dumb it down a little bit and just go with, what fits in there. Same for you, but then we compromise. We compromise. That's one of the great things about compromise, because it's a tool in relationships that help us keep things balanced. And now we learning today that imbalance in a relationship creates toxicity. How do you say the word? Makes it toxic.
You said it.
So we don't want to throw out compromise. Well, I always got to be the bigger person. You ain't got to be the bigger person. It's not about you being the bigger person. It's about setting a tone. And some people, I get you. If you're with somebody that's tone deaf, right? You always setting a tone. You always being a bigger person and setting a tone that they're not picking up on.
That relationship, I ain't gonna say it.
You know what I'm saying? And if that's the case, then you may need to take them to a doctor to check their ears, right? And if that don't work,
his ears work, doctor,
then leave their deaf self.
It takes two.
Sign language,
in a relationship,
something.
Man. It takes two, and don't be trying.
And I ain't talking about deaf people now.
Not at all.
We got family members that we
Shout
love.
Shout out to my cousin.
We love y'all.
Honey. She be liking those comments. I be like, my girl don't know what we just said, but she love us, and we love her too.
Exactly. No, I'm just using that as an analogy for somebody who can't read the room. Right.
Numb.
Yeah, numb to what you're doing and what you're giving, and you're the one that's always trying to keep the peace and all that, and they just get their way every freaking time, just so that things don't blow up. Forget it. Let it blow up, let it crash, fall down to the ground, and let's see how much they really want it. If they don't, and they talk all bad, let them prove it. Let them prove that they really don't need you. Let them prove that they really don't. All that stuff they talking, them be wolf tickets.
Don't stay together for these kids. We are damaging our children. yeah, we just gonna do this for the kids. So what you doing for the kids? Teaching them how to build another toxic relationship when they leave your
That's
life?
it.
How to be a toxic individual?
Right.
What are we teaching them on the strength of stay together for the kids? And I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
We ain't out here preaching divorce. We out here preaching healing. And if you can't heal and you don't desire to heal, then that's kind of where the conversation
That's where it ends.
of divorce comes about for us. If it ain't bearing no fruit, cut it down.
Right.
Chop it.
Yeah.
If it's causing you to sin, cut it down.
Yeah.
Chop it.
Because that healing starts on an individual level first. And if you're with somebody who won't allow you to go on that journey of healing for yourself, and if you find yourself stopping or enabling or being a distraction to the person you're with when they're trying to heal themselves as an individual, then you're toxic or they're toxic, or that's something that needs to be addressed. Like, you may have to split up because of that.
Like, you may split up, heal, and come back together. But some stuff needs to happen. We have to change. Everybody keep talking about trauma, therapy, grief. What's their favorite word now? Gaslighting. Like, everybody act like they so in tune to emotional wellness, and we just doing all that talk with no word. Like, time out for that crap. Like, go out and heal for real.
And during those, I know a lot of people, right? This is something that always happens too. It's very common in toxic relationships. I thought about it when we talked about splitting up. So a lot of people, they separated. Y'all done separated 20,000 times. Y'all done separated.
But
still married, but y'all done separated all this time. And during that separation time, you sliding, he sliding. Y'all ain't nobody healing. Ain't none one of y'all really working on yourselves. And if that's the case, if you're not taking that separation time to work on yourself, to become a better person to come back to, then just go ahead and let that go.
Let it go.
Because ain't now one of y'all, studies have shown, something I read, that children who grow up in toxic relationships are worse off adults. Worse off in school, worse off in life than the ones whose parents split up when they realized it was toxic and it just wasn't going to work. So don't stay together in a toxic situation thinking you're helping them kids. You're not. You're not.
Unless y'all are great actors. Hey, baby.
Them kids know what's real, bro.
Are we going out? Are you okay?
That feels good too. But kids know what's real. Kids know what's real.
They do.
So that faking, you think you faking and fooling somebody. You ain't fooling them kids. You just teaching them how to be manipulators. You teaching them how to be liars, not only to other people, but to themselves. Because you got to lie to yourself every day. Stop doing that.
So if y'all ain't ready for real, raw conversations, y'all know this the place we just come and talk about whatever's on our heart. If y'all ain't ready for them and y'all ain't ready to grow, this might not be the channel for you. But if you are, be sure to hit that
subscribe button, like, share, and hit that notification bell down at the bottom,
wherever it's at. But be notified when we upload those videos to talk about how to make a relationship work. You could be dating, engaged, married, wherever you fall within those lines. Every day you're in a relationship, you're working towards keeping the relationship. So it's for everybody. It's for everybody.
And at some point we are going to be pulling on those seasoned couples like ourselves who've been married for a long time and bringing y'all on the show, interviewing y'all so that
we
the people watching are not, they're not just learning from our experiences, that they're also learning from yours.
So y'all help us grow. We out.
Hey.
Pass me over a little something like this.